The Forspoken release is bad news for Xbox fans. Forspoken is the debut adventure from developer Luminous Productions. Following the story of protagonist Frey Holland, the upcoming RPG sees you plucked from New York and hurtled into the fantasy land of Athia. With a team that includes developers who previously worked on Final Fantasy XV, writers from TV, films, and games were also brought on board to create the story of the adventure. First revealed back in 2020, we've gotten to see more footage of Forspoken in action and even got the chance to try out some of the combat for ourselves in a hands-on preview. With a closer look at combat and traversal, we've seen how Forspoken will allow you to move around the landscapes using magical parkour and fight against enemies with a host of different spells and moves. Though it hasn't been seen much by would-be fans, Forspoken hasn't exactly got a good reputation. Following the reveals from a pretty scathing and unhappy preview from GameSpot, and the heavy memeing that one of the game's teasers and its dialogue received, Forspoken isn't in a position to make a seriously positive splash in the industry. When will Forspoken launch on Xbox? The problem is, critics just don't think Forspoken will be a particularly game-changing turn for the consoles that it'll be touching down on. That might be just as well, because it looks like Xbox owners will be missing out regardless. For all two of you, Forspoken superfans, we hope you're not Xbox natives, because it looks like you will be missing out for quite some time. Sony has revealed a new trailer that details some of the features of the DualSense wireless controller in tandem with some of the PlayStation games in the PS5 library. The ad quietly reveals that Final Fantasy XVI will be an exclusive title to the PlayStation 5 for the first 6 months, which is likely to be a big deal for Final Fantasy fans. That's not the biggest weight that players on other gaming means will have to endure. The same ad confirms a similar deal for Forspoken, which reveals that the game will be exclusive to the console for 2 whole years. Yikes. When is Forspoken coming out? Forspoken is set to be a part of PlayStation's January lineup, with the game officially launching on the PS5 on January 24, 2023, but, of course, the deal is different for Xbox. Xbox players can expect to play Forspoken on January 32, 2025. By this time, there's probably a good chance that interest in the title will have been and gone by then. Forspoken hasn't made a great first impression, so here's hoping it could turn things around. By 2025, we'd at least hope someone would have managed to nail it. Forspoken gameplay details. What we've seen so far of Forspoken showcases how Frey will be a particularly athletic hero. The main character has a skill known as magic parkour, which allows her to run fast, leap great distances, and use the environment to swing across gaps and climb vertical inclines. The latest look at the upcoming adventure offered insight into how magic is at the center of everything in Forspoken, from combat to exploration. Frey is outfitted with a variety of magical spells and combat styles that you can use and adapt depending on your preferred style of play. From long-distance powers to close-range spells, there's all manner of magical attacks to experiment with. With RPG elements such as crafting and upgrades, you can improve a variety of Frey's skills. Gear can also be equipped such as necklaces and capes to improve stats. In order to bring together realism with fantasy, Frey can use shards to paint patterns on her nails to make spellcasting more powerful. In our hands-on preview with Forspoken, we got the chance to try out some of the layered spells in Frey's arsenal. Forspoken story details. Forspoken is a game about a young woman named Frey from New York City who is about to turn 21 years old. Before long, she finds herself transported to the world of Athia, where fantasies and nightmares are suddenly very real. As the first video game I've worked on, it's remarkable to see the incredible world and story of Forspoken come together, blurring the lines between reality and fantasy, said Balinska what she's seen of Forspoken so far. Frey as a character is real, she's raw, she's a girl who lost her way both figuratively and literally, and as a character I immediately connected with, as I feel many people around the world will too when they set off on this adventure. In this magical and dangerous world, Frey must learn to harness newfound magical powers in order to defeat monsters and the Tantas, who hold dominion over the land. Her magic derives from her cuff, a magical bracelet that can speak to her, and is voiced by Jonathan Cake. Frey must defeat the Tantas with the help of Cuff in order to have a chance of returning back to New York City and her cat. The team writing the story is being led by Gary Whitta, who has written for, among other games, Prey. Forspoken's writing team comes from across the worlds of film, TV, games, and fantasy literature, he said on Twitter. So far, we know that Amy Hennig, Todd Stashwick, and Allison Reimer are among the talent involved.